I really do hate to retread this topic over and over again, but when you get developments like this, it's important to highlight them. Okay, not because it just infuriates me to no end, but because it's noteworthy. Okay, and just another reason why you shouldn't trust the official line on at its face value, because it's fucking wrong more often than not. The cop who killed Ashli Babbitt was cleared of criminal wrongdoing. Okay, we know that. There has been multiple investigations, and they said that they investigated themselves and they did nothing wrong, but they didn't interview him. So how could you know about state of mind? Okay, how could you know that he did everything right? How do you know that he followed proper procedure if you didn't even talk to him? How could you come to that conclusion in any clear and honest interpretation of the law, of protocol? It escapes me. It really, really does. This is... whatever. Okay, the U.S. Capitol Police Lieutenant Michael Byrd. A couple months ago, you couldn't even say it. You'd have videos taken down. It was an unsearchable name on YouTube. I wonder why. Never gave any sort of fucking notice on that one. It was just taken down for some random nebulous term. Okay. Oh, no, you can't be saying things about that. And don't worry, no strike will be attributed to your channel. And it's just gone. Gone like the wind. And then all of a sudden the dude, yeah, like I said, just hopped on NBC Nightly News, and he had to tell his side of the story. Michael Byrd came out and said that I was in fear for my life, which is fine. Okay, you can make that assertion. You just look like a bit of a bitch, especially when you had a woman crawling through a window, okay, who was unarmed, and if you were scared of that, okay, fine. But whatever, like it says here, yeah, went on NBC's Nightly News with Lester Holt to tell his side of the shooting and killing of the unarmed January 6th rider Ashli Babbitt. He made a point to note he'd been investigated by several agencies and exonerated for his actions that day. That's fair, but he also didn't claim to be interviewed, did he? Did he? There is an investigative process, and I was cleared by the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the Metropolitan Police. 3 investigations into the insurrection, and yet we're still got a committee and all that stupid shit. Anyways, he told NBC News anchor Lester Holt in August, adding that the Capitol Police also cleared him of wrongdoing. So 4 investigations. Wow, he is super innocent in this, right? And he did the right thing 4 times over, huh? In fact, investigators cleared Byrd of wrongdoing in the shooting without actually interviewing him about the shooting or threatening him with punishment if he did not cooperate with the criminal investigations. So his input was not germane to the topic. They knew exactly what they were doing. They had all of the video evidence that they could get, and they just decided, nope, everything was good and everything was on the up and up. This might be standard operating procedure for different police departments. It's just not something I've ever heard of before. Maybe it's specific to Capitol Police. I just don't know. I just couldn't possibly think that this is the operating procedure. It escapes me, really. He didn't provide any statement to criminal investigators, and they didn't push him to make a statement. Babbitt's family attorney Terry Roberts said in an RCI interview, "It's astonishing how skimpy his investigation file is." Roberts, who has spoken to the DC MPD Metro Police Department, detective assigned to the case, said the kid glove treatment of Byrd raises suspicion the investigation was a whitewash. But he's black, so that's racist. Did he wear whiteface while shooting her? Oh my god. Questions that'll never get answered. The lawyer's account appears to be backed up by the January 2021 Internal Affairs report, which notes Byrd declined to provide a statement. DC MPD documents show. Declined or not asked to. Interchangeable, really. Asked about the DC MPD spokeswoman confirmed that Byrd did not cooperate with internal affairs agents or FBI agents who jointly investigated what was one of the most high-profile officer-involved shooting cases in the United States history. Really? Is it high profile when you're not allowed to talk about it? When you're not allowed to find out any information prior to him coming out, what, 7 months, 8 months after the fact and given a mainstream media interview? Nobody's allowed to know any of that information. In fact, the widow of Ashli Babbitt had to sue the Metropolitan Police Department in order to find out his name, and theoretically, maybe that lawsuit has been dismissed for mootness because he was trying to figure it out in order to get some resolution to the case, but it just never happened. It just kept bouncing around different courts. Asked about it, yes. DC MPD spokeswoman confirmed the Byrd did not cooperate with internal affairs agents or FBI agents who jointly investigated what was one of the most high-profile officer-involved shooting cases in the United States history. MPD did not formally interview Lieutenant Byrd. Okay, so he didn't comply, or they just didn't bother to send for him. Involved in a shooting, I think normal procedure is you get placed on leave. Okay, like I've been, over the past calendar year, I've been looking at a bunch of different lawsuits and a bunch of officer-involved shootings and officer-involved incidences, and standard operating procedure in these different police precincts, okay, is they get placed on administrative leave, and until the complete investigation is done and their cooperation is germane to the investigation, and until everything is resolved, they don't get placed back into their position, or they get sent to jail. But that's I guess not the policy here. Deputy DC MPD Communications Director Kristen Metzger said, and he didn't give a statement while under the U.S. Attorney's Office investigation. Still, USCP concluded in August that the officer's conduct was lawful and within department policy. The agency launched its administrative investigation after the criminal investigation was closed. So what if, like, this is just a huge hypothetical, okay? He's a black guy, okay? Ashli Babbitt was a white woman. She's considerably darker now thanks to the decaying, but maybe he had racist intent. Okay, maybe he was just looking to shoot somebody that day. Maybe his state of mind would have been important to find out, but never got it, never needed to find it. Okay, it wasn't until Lester Holt bravely asked for an interview that finally Lieutenant Byrd answered the call. Unfortunately, he did leave his Glock on the back of a urinal at NBC, something he's known to do. In April, within 4 months of the shooting, Byrd was cleared of criminal wrongdoing by the Department of Justice and declined to impanel a grand jury to hear evidence in the departure from other lethal police shooting cases involving unarmed citizens. Ah, yes, Justice ruled there was not enough evidence to conclude Byrd violated Babbitt's civil rights or willfully acted recklessly in shooting her. No, she was just one lady in the middle of a hallway that he shot dead. It wasn't like there was a bunch of people around. It wasn't like there was other officers walking up directly behind her. No, reckless in that case. No, couldn't possibly have happened that way. They investigated it 4 times over. 4 different institutions found out that he was a good boy who didn't do nothing wrong. Byrd remains the commander in charge of security of the White House, the House of Representatives. That's good, because there is no length that he will not go to in order to maintain those sacred halls and make sure nobody ever goes through those doors who's not at least 80 fucking years old. Neither the FBI nor the Justice Department could comment on whether they pressed Byrd after he insisted on remaining silent. Well, to be fair, it would be a violation of his Fifth Amendment rights, but there's a lot of shit that we don't know. But I wonder if they knew this factoid, because enough about this. Let's stop belaboring this. What about this that came out? What about more video evidence? Did they know about this when they were doing their investigation? Babbitt tried to stop attack on Capitol Speaker's lobby. Video shows female Trump supporter desperate pleas to prevent rioters from breaking windows. Stop. No, don't. Wait. Did they know about this? Interesting. Because like I said, I wouldn't be talking about this if it wasn't for these big new developments, but this seems pretty important, and this makes me as about as upset as I'm willing to get on camera. Ashli Babbitt, who was fatally shot by police officer Michael Byrd at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, desperately tried to prevent rioters from vandalizing the doors leading to the Speaker's lobby at the Capitol that day, even stepping between one troublemaker and officers guarding the door. A video footage analysis shows frame-by-frame video evidence analyzed by the Epoch Times paints a vastly different picture of Babbitt's actions than that portrayed in media accounts over the past year. News media regularly painted Babbitt as violent, a rioter, or an insurrectionist, depending on your network, who was angrily trying to breach a speaker's lobby and just couldn't be reasoned with. Okay, Michael Byrd was yelling, "Stop! No, don't do it! I'm gonna shoot! I'm gonna come!" And then, yeah, eventually did shoot her dead, and she could not be reasoned with. Couldn't hear his calls, couldn't hear his pleas. But it looks like she was the one doing a lot of pleading. Video footage shot by Antifa's own John Earl Sullivan also known as Jaden X, shows that Babbitt tried to stop the violence against the speaker's lobby at least 4 times before she climbed into a broken window and was fatally shot by U.S. Capitol Police Lieutenant Michael Byrd. At one point, she was so distressed by the violence, she jumped up and down in frustration. In reality of this, it is Ashli wasn't a violent person. She was a good person, but they've demonized her to become this domestic terrorist that she has never been. Taylor Hanson, an independent journalist who was just feet away from Babbitt, who was shot, told the Times. She served the country for 14 years. This is just insane to me that you can actually get away with pushing this narrative. They've done that by suppressing first-hand witnesses like me. Hanson said he was walking behind Babbitt in a hallway on the 2nd floor of the Capitol at about 2:40 p.m. She turned right down the speaker's lobby hallway. Hanson followed. That right there in the fateful hallway? Okay. So we didn't know anything about the building we were in. She turned the corner and I just followed her, Hanson said. A big group of people followed us after I followed her. People just kind of emerged at the door. But that time, she was stuck in the corner. She was literally trapped there, Hanson said. Babbitt, who served as U.S. Air Force and military police officer, was chatting with 3 officers before the U.S. Capitol Police and the Metropolitan Police Department of the District of Columbia, MPDC, obviously referred to further as. There you can see her in a couple of different frames, okay? Obviously, that's consistently the same woman, okay? And I guess it's been identified by Taylor Hanson there. After about 5 minutes, prior to her getting shot and killed, all of those officers, Officers Yetter and the other officers in the hall, the MPD cops, they were all joking with her and laughing with her. Huh. They were having conversations and joking and laughing. Then not 5 minutes later, Michael Byrd comes and executes her. So I wonder if they were interviewed during this investigation. Babbitt confronted rider Zachary Alam, leaning in between him and one of the police officers guarding the door. Alam turned away from Babbitt and punched the window at the side of the officer's head. I've seen that. I think if you guys have watched any of the footage that came out at that time, there is an asshole who punches the window, okay, beforehand. So that must be Zach. Babbitt winces just before Alam strikes the window with his right hand, rather. He later uses a helmet to smash the tempered glass. An audio analysis of the footage taken away from the hallway reveals that Babbitt shouted, "Stop, no, don't wait," according to her husband, Aaron Babbitt. So, is it a recount from him, who's obviously going to be sympathetic? I'm trying to at least parse this through like I would with a normal article, but this is an account from the husband, okay, talking about what somebody interpreted from video that was relayed to another party and then relayed to him. Like, there's a couple of degrees of separation here. After repeatedly forcing myself to watch the murder of my wife, in all honesty, that must really suck. I have come to my own conclusion that Ashli came to the point of realization that she was in a very bad situation. The police weren't acting appropriately to what she was witnessing. I know my wife very well. She's not destructive. She's not there to hurt anybody. So that still doesn't explain why she went through the window, though. That's the only thing that I'm trying to figure out here. As the 3 police officers moved away from the speaker's lobby door, a U.S. police containment emergency response team was coming up the stairs. Yeah, those are the ones, the guys in riot gear. Okay, it looks like it, because they're all dressed in black, they're wearing the SWAT-esque gear. Okay, that's the best description I can give. But that's the CERT team. Standing adjacent to the departing doors, Babbitt appears around them at the men smashing the glass. Her expression is one of shock. She yells at the 2 rioters. Okay, Babbitt feared for her life. Her husband said he wasn't there, though. So, again, I'm trying to be fair to this, but why aren't you talking to Taylor Hanson? He was apparently right there. So she climbed into the broken window to escape. What? I guess because the officers are coming up the stairs and don't really know if they're officers because they're all in black and they just look like they're militarized, in a stark contrast with the other officers that were there that day just in their blues. Okay, interesting. Okay, maybe, okay. Byrd shot her before she got more than partway into the window frame. The only way we'd ever know if Ashli felt the window is the only way out is if she had been detained by one of the countless police officers that abandoned their post in front of those doors. Yeah, exactly. That did not happen. The murder and robbed the chance for her to tell the side of the story. Hanson and Sullivan said that they didn't hear any warnings from inside the speaker's lobby before the shot was fired. Other angles of the video shows that there were verbal warnings given by maybe Byrd or maybe one of the other officers that were on the other side of the window who didn't pull their guns. So I guess in the investigation they didn't act properly. I don't know. Protesters were extremely loud. There was conflicting accounts from police officers on both sides of the barricaded door as to whether warnings instructed were given before Byrd fired on Babbitt. But he acted completely and utterly upstandingly for an officer. Sullivan was the first to notice Byrd's service pistol aimed at the window. He and Hansen both shouted warnings. I began yelling, "Hey, there's a gun. He's got a gun," Hansen said. But nobody could hear us. I could barely hear John Sullivan, and I was right next to him because people were screaming and the windows were breaking. And again, honestly, you can't really tell what Ashli's doing. Obviously, like, that's the same woman there. We're led to believe that's Ashli, okay? I have no reason to believe that that's not, okay? But even just from that side profile, she looks frightened. She looks a little bit scared. You can see the raised eyebrows. You can see just kind of the downward tilt of her mouth. Like, she looks like there's going to be some bad shit going on there. So you could go along with the theory that she was just trying to escape from a bad situation because there's a bunch of guys just dressed in military-esque gear. She's trying to get out of the situation. Since there was a gun, I got on the ground because I didn't know what was going on, said Taylor Hansen. I figured I'm going to get as low as possible in case there's any ricochets or misfires or anything like that. I had on my Kevlar vest, which I always wear when I report. Smart man. When I tried to warn people, they couldn't hear us, and we were screaming. Broke out the side window and the right to the double doors because he intended to use it to breach the speaker's lobby, Hansen said. Again, he's not a mind reader. Objection, hearsay. Okay. The only reason he didn't climb through before Babbitt, Hansen said, was because he had his glasses knocked down from his face, and he had his feelings hurt because everybody was yelling mean things at him for punching the window. He was about to go right through the window, he said. Okay, does he know that, or is speculation? Cause for speculation. Objection, speculation. It was his idea. He was the one shattering it. That's just your interpretation of the facts, man. Babbitt said the situation shows. Okay, this is Aaron Babbitt. Okay, obviously the one who can provide some sort of testimony to this. Shows how two people can look at the same video and reach completely different conclusions. It all comes down to which mental angle the person views this from. If they hate Ashli, then they believe the lies. They can see her as being part of the mob. Yet trying to get through. Okay, trying to breach into the speaker's office, the speaker's chambers, which has already been evacuated, only to what exactly? Anyways, yeah, so again, she was just trying to get to another empty room, but whatever. Okay, so yeah, she bloodthirsty Trump supporter who was just out there to kill as many Democrats as possible while being unarmed. Or again, you could take the whole she was trying to get out of a bad situation tact, which I haven't really considered because I've never really seen it credibly brought up before, but it kind of makes sense if you twist your idea in that. But again, we're never going to actually hear her side of the story, what was going through her head prior to a bullet. But yeah, like I stated earlier, we will not know what motivated Ashli to climb through that window, nor do any of the investigations figure out if there was anything going on in the mind of Michael Byrd before he decided to pull out his service weapon, the only officer there to do it, and put two in the head of an Air Force veteran. We'll never get those answers, but I hope Aaron Babbitt does. I hope somebody gets some kind of fucking justice in this case because this has been covered up and distorted so badly, okay? Like, you still have that disgusting, despicable January 6th panel that's up there, okay? They keep trying to champion the different people who died that day, but the moment you bring up Ashli Babbitt, nothing gets discussed, okay? Hopefully this does something. I'd imagine that a few people are going to watch this. You know what? At least you guys are enlightened. At least you guys know a little bit more about the situation, but this just makes me not believe police even more than I already do. But at the same time, really, it just makes me hope that there's going to be eventually, at some point in time, some justice for what remains of Ashli Babbitt's family. Honestly, that's all you can hope for at this point. So, with that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Doc Consuelo. Why don't you follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.